Welcome to the setting up of my new workshop. My wife and I recently moved to a bigger house and I've got a dedicated room now which is for me quite a good size in which I can build my planes, and it's, as I said, it's a dedicated space and I'm really excited about getting this set up. I'm at the stage now where I've changed the lighting. It was spotlights to start off with, which I don't particularly like. I put in 3 strip lights, I think you can just see the end one, and they provide a much more diffuse light. It's been decorated in just a matte white, so it's nice and bright, lots of light. And my wife is the expert decorator and she's just finished doing this, and I'm really excited at what a good job she's done. Here's a quick picture of her decorating one of the other rooms now in the house, which she probably won't thank me for showing you, but she really is a good decorator. So thank you to her for that. So I'm going to run through with you my thought processes as to what I think is a good workshop and how it should be set up. Now, the size of this workshop is 12 foot by 8 foot or 3.7 metres by 2.5 metres, and it's actually the back end of a garage in a detached house. The front end of the garage, where you lift up the doors, has had a wall built about 1 metre back from the doors, and that now is my plane storage area. This section of the garage has been done out into a proper room, and there's a doorway here that goes into the hallway, and we've got a lovely smooth wooden floor which I'm not sure whether you can see in the video. Now, one of the first things I was thinking about was this space here. So I put 3 twin slot rails up and I should get some really good storage space, and I'm just going to make sure that the shelves don't protrude beyond these boxed in areas, just so that as I'm walking past I don't catch myself, because it's going to be quite tight here once I've got a workbench in. So I'm going to make the shelves for that, and I'm going to get on and do that as one of my first jobs. The other thing is how I'm going to lay out the room, and one of the really important things for me is having an island workbench rather than a workbench up against the wall. I've just found workbenches up against the wall very difficult because you can't put a plane with the wings on the bench because you're constricted by the wall. So I'm planning to have an island down here coming out as far as I can, probably to about here. I've got the shelves there and just a narrow walk through. We all have to work with the space we've got, and I have worked up against the wall and it was fine in the past. But now I've got a little bit more space, I'm going to have that island. At the end of the day, workshops are usually a compromise between space and money and other things. So we can always work with what we've got. But I'm going to have an island coming out here. I'm going to have some cupboards and a workbench there, and another workbench over here with a drill and stuff on it. But what I want to do is take you through the development of this workshop and how it comes together. So I'm going to get on now and have a go making these shelves, and I'm going to start to pull together my island workbench and the cupboards over here, and we'll come back and we'll have a look and see how that develops. Oh, and one final thing is, if you've seen my videos before, you know I always have plans on the wall, and I am a great believer that it's great to be able to pin them up and just look at them, because I mainly build from plans, and I spend so long just stood there looking at the plans and just in my head converting that 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional and how I'm going to build it. So I've got a plan rail here where I can just clip my plans up, and I put another one there, and that will provide me with lots of wall space to which I can print my plans. To print out another AO plan, It's just a few pounds where I get them printed, so it's not an expensive process, but it's so valuable. So anyway, I will get on now and we'll come back and have a look how we've got on. Well, I've been busy and you can see I've now got the shelves fitted into this alcove, or at least some of them. I've been making the shelves out of MDF, 18mm MDF. It's cheap, it's very flat, it's easy to work with, as long as you do it outdoors, because this stuff is really dusty and it's not something you want to get into your lungs. But I've been using MDF and treating it with 3 coats of Danish oil, which is really good. You could argue, well, why do you need to? But if I put something that's slightly oily, or I don't know, I don't want the shelves to get marked. And to be honest, I quite like the dark, rich colour. Adds just a little bit of colour to what is otherwise a very white room. You can see the shelves. I've put on a bit of an angle there, just to fit it in, as I said, with the profile of these 2 boxed in areas. So it's full width to here, which is about 200, and then it slopes in to 140 there. These angle in because you can probably just see the edge of the workbench that I've almost finished, I guess, and that allows me an area to walk through here without catching my elbow on here. It's quite narrow, but I wanted to get as much out of the workbench. Let's take a look at that now. Now, the length of this is 1.75 metres, which is 69 inches, just under 70 inches, and it's 0.75 of a metre wide, which for me is ample. I think this is big enough for anything that I'm going to be building. Famous last words, I know, but I think this is a good size, and at the end of the day I couldn't have fitted anything bigger in here with the way I want to plan it. So anyway, I've got a gap here from this wall to the bench, which is 900mm, so that gives me plenty of space to walk backwards and forwards. I've got the radiator here I can sit on if it's a cold day and just ponder what I'm doing. Plenty of room to get down and look at what I'm doing. And yet I can get a full-size plane, 60, 70-inch wingspan plane, on here with the wings on, because we're not constricted by a wall. So having an island like this, for me, is perfect. I've got my plans on the wall, or my plan rails. I will have my plans on the wall, so I can look at those while I'm building. I've also put in a cupboard here, which is going to have doors on it and a top. Now, before I talk about the tops, let me just mention very briefly how I built this workbench. It's constructed out of 38 by 89mm planed timber. I built the basic framework in situ here. I wanted to make sure it was as level as possible and as flat as possible. So I built it actually where it's going to sit on the floor, because I don't know how level this floor is. I mean, I can check it, but it's going to have the odd little dip here and there. So I built it where it's going to sit. And it's solid, it doesn't rock. And once I've built the basic framework, I took the screws out of the 4 side pieces, of which the top is going to sit on, and I levelled up this corner here, this bench, and then I re-screwed these on, but setting them all from the datum here and making sure this was level and flat, and putting these cross pieces. So now this is a perfectly flat top. If I'd built it all without doing that, I would have probably ended up with it being a bit squiff anyway. So the worktop and the top on here, I'm going to be using 18mm MDF again. Now the reason I'm using that, I pondered for ages about what material to use, and MDF is a really consistent flat material. I did think about plywood, but that often is a little bit variable. I haven't used anything I can pin into. I do a lot of my building with steel blocks and on cutting mats. Where I do need to pin stuff with wings, I'm going to be putting on something else I can take off, which I can pin into foam, a balsa board, something like that. So this is a basic workbench. It's not something I can pin into. Now, the way the tops are going to work, this is one piece of the work surface. As I said, MDF. I've treated this with Danish oil, the same as the shelves. That is going to fit onto there, like that. And then I've got a worktop, which is going to fit into that without a step or anything like that. This is, I can level this with the legs just to make sure that's perfect. And I'll put a couple of screws in from underneath just to lock these together. But this bench isn't going anywhere, it's really solid. I've cut the top for this, I've treated it, it's still outside because it's drying and it smells a lot. But I've got the basic structure. We'll come back and have a look at that in a bit when we've got the top on. Right, well, I now have the bench top fitted, and you can see that just goes into that side piece with no step, a little bit of a seam, but no step at all. And I am really excited to see this starting to take shape, and it is lovely and flat. I am really pleased with how this has come out. So this MDF, I think, is going to be great, and with this Danish oil it'll be protected from any oil spills or fuel or anything if I'm stripping an engine. And like I said, I'm going to be putting on an extra board or something to pin into when I make up things like wings. And I've got bags and bags of storage under this bench. So I'm going to get some containers, I might put some shelves underneath. But it's great to have storage, because if you're anything like me, you end up with so much stuff. And when I see pictures and other people's workshops, they're full of stuff as well. So it's great to have lots of storage. Now I'm going to get this finished, wrapped up. I'm going to get this bench built and put in there with my drill on, and then we'll come and have a final look at how this is working out. And as you can see, I even put a plan on the wall so we can get an idea of how this space is going to work. And this is an old King Combat wing that I built a while back, but we'll come back when it's finished and take a look. Well, welcome to my finished workshop, and I feel so pleased with the way this has gone, and I will show you around in a second and just show you a few of the storage things that I've put into place, which I feel quite pleased about. I think when you've got a small workshop like this, it's all about the storage, where you're going to put things, but having things that are easy access. And before we do that, just a word about the actual work surface. I mean, this MDF top treated in Danish oil is lovely, and I absolutely love the finish. Now it stopped smelling. It did smell for a while just from the oil. But just something about the height. Now, I've done the height of it. I'm about myself about 5'7½", something like that, and I've done this workbench at 950 millimeters high, which is, I think it's 37.5 inches or thereabouts, and that's quite high in actual fact. I think it's higher than we get in the UK for kitchen counters, for example. But sometimes I can get a bad back if I'm working and I'm just leaning forward like this. So for me, a nice high work surface is really good, and that's a really important thing, I think, to bear in mind whenever you're doing something like this. Right, let's have a look at some of those storage options, and we'll have a quick whiz round the workshop. Right, well, earlier we had a look at these shelves and how I fitted them into the alcove and angling so I didn't catch my elbow as I walked between the workbench and the shelving. What I've now done is I've put up some guttering, just normal household guttering, 3 layers underneath that, and I use that for storing things like, for example, in this middle one I've got some carbon fibre, and I've got steel, piano wire, music wire, and I can just go through that. I've got a little stool here which I use for the top shelf, and if I want to look through here, I can just sit on the shelf and I can go through. I've got all my lengths of balsa here that I can just sort through for the different sizes that I need. And in the top I've got dowel and plastic, things like that. So control rods, the snake, that's it, the plastic snake rods. So they go in the top there. I was really pleased when I thought of this idea. I just thought it was nice and simple. I could see what I'd got and I've got easy access to it. Now, the other storage thing that I've done is I've made use of the space here, which is between the door and the other side of this alcove, or this is actually the soil pipe coming down from upstairs. It's just boxed out. So, and that is my part of my balsa store. Just a narrow box in which I can put on my balsa, and it's divided into three. I've got pegs going through, and if I just move the camera, and we can see how that's located by the door. So as you can see, this would be an otherwise kind of wasted space. I could put shelves there, but there's not really that much room. So to have this box with my balsa in, my bench is here, I can come up and I can just sort through and choose whatever balsa I need. I've done 3 compartments. I might actually separate it by size, or maybe hard, medium, soft. I don't know. At the moment I'm just trying to get the solutions, and then I'll kind of sort it afterwards. Now if we turn around and look at the other side of the bench, well, as you can see, I've got more of my plans up on the wall now, all around me in these areas, and I've avoided putting anything up on the wall shelves, so I have got that space, because I absolutely love having my plans on the wall just to be able to refer to, or if I want to take a quick measurement, it's easy done. Now I've got some storage here, I've got my taps and dies, a few other things, just in my finer tools perhaps, just in these drawers, very cheap off eBay, but a good solution to storage. I've made myself a rack for my common tools. I used to keep things like this just slotted into a jam jar, and I was always pulling out the wrong one. So I put these in a logical order for me anyway, and just made this out of MDF, and these just slot in and out nice and easy. So whenever I want them, they're at hand. It's all about making the workspace work for you, or work for me. So let's have a look at the other side. I've got my other bench over here. So here's my supplementary bench, which has got my pillar drill on it, and my vise still not bolted down yet. There's still things to do to get it finished, but we're almost there. And easy access to the power supply. I've also got a power supply just on the other side of the workbench, which is really useful for when I'm doing things like covering. Because if you're covering a wing with a heating iron, the last thing you want as you're holding the wing, the last thing you want is the cable coming over from the back of the bench. You want it coming from down here, from this side of the bench, so it's not draping over the wing. It's just so frustrating that way. But anyway, plenty of storage again, some of my engines, and a nice storage cabinet here. And of course we've got the storage under the 2 benches, which is a huge space when it's added up. Well, that's it, my finished workshop, or as good as finished. And I've really enjoyed showing you what I've done and the solutions that I've come up with. And I hope this is really useful to you if you're thinking about setting up your own workshop, whether that's redesigning something you've got, or perhaps starting from a blank canvas like I did. I've really enjoyed thinking about where I can put my plans, my workbench, having this island, and also the storage solutions that I've come up with, like the shelves over there, and obviously this. All I can say now is thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I suppose I'd better get on and start building something.